Hello everyone, my name is Joshua. This is the 98th video on my video journal series. Today's date is Sunday, the 17th of May, 2026. How's everyone been? I've been pretty good, thank you. And something I want to discuss with you today is, have you ever had that experience where you got something coming up in a few weeks to a month time, like you're going on holidays, a convention, uh, like just anything like that, like a very big event, like it could be a wedding, for instance, and you're just like waiting because it's so far away, it's like a month, and you're like, man, how am I going to kill time in that month? For me, there's a convention that's going to happen here in Sydney called Supernova, and I'm very excited to go to Supernova. I already got my ticket. I'm going with a mate, and you know, that's just the only thing that's been on my mind is Supernova convention, because a lot of like A-list celebrities and people that I actually know are going there. So I'm like, oh, I'm really excited. But that's in June, and as of recording this, it's late May. Mid to late May, sort of. And like I'm just thinking to myself, how do I pass the time? You ever have like yet again that sort of experience where you're like, it's coming in a month, all right, but you just really wish it could be a month now, but then you realize, well, if I were to just wait and do nothing for a month, then that's just a waste of a month. But it's not like you can do anything else because that's the only thing that's on your mind. I feel like that is like sort of problematic. It's like knowing that you have a holiday in like a month's time, you're going overseas and you're like really excited, and you should be, but then, that month, even if you're like already off, for instance, let's say you're on your uni break, right? And let's say it's like towards the end of the year, and you're gonna go away on holidays in a few weeks' time. You know, technically you're still on holidays, but like you're just waiting and waiting and waiting, so then you can like finally go on the plane, and it kind of like, I guess, quote unquote kills your enjoyment. At least this is for me, where you just feel like you wasted a week just waiting, and that's the only thing that's been on your mind. But you didn't really enjoy that week, if you know what I mean. I've certainly got that. So like that's why I don't really like, I guess, booking stuff, you know, really early. Sort of like, I like, if I were to go overseas, right, and have been overseas, usually I book maybe like 3 months before. I don't book like, well, obviously the earlier you book, the better it is, but I don't like to book maybe like 6 or 9 months. I think that's a little bit maybe too much. 3 months is like the sweet spot. Um, oh, excuse me. I remember when I booked tickets to go see AC/DC live last year. I booked those tickets like 5 months in advance, and I remember like having to wait like nearly half a year just so then I could see AC/DC for like a 3 hour concert. And that was the only thing that was on my mind. Like last year, around June or May, wherever those tickets went on sale, I was just like really pumped, and I felt like, what if it just like distracts me from like my studies and all that? It didn't really, because I ended up like sort of not forgetting it, but I just pushed it towards the back end of my mind, and it was only when like I finished all my studies and all that where it suddenly came into my head again. And I was like, oh yeah, I do have a concert that I'm going to. Um, sorry. Sorry if that sounds very disgusting. I think my nose is like slowly recovering. But like obviously it is a little bit cold outside, so it's not really helping. But yeah, I'm feeling a lot better, thanks. But yeah, so I feel like one way to sort of combat that issue where you're like really excited for something, but it's gonna be like a long way away, long way away. Yes, that is a tongue twister for me. Where it's like, at least a few weeks or a couple of months. I feel like the best thing to combat that is sort of to push at the back of your mind. Like, acknowledge that, yes, you're really excited, but why not focus on what you can do now, whether it may be studying or enjoying the rest of your break or free time. Focus on I guess, the stuff you can do now, sort of, because No matter how fast you want things to speed up, I guess time remains constant. It's only our illusion of time that goes like up and down. For example, today seemed really quick for me because I was just doing my work, um, and I guess these last couple of days have been going by really fast because it's the end of I guess, like when I'm starting to wrap up work and my assignments and all that. Um, so time can go really quickly. But I acknowledge that, I need to make the most out of my time. I'm really excited for Supernova, but that's in June, still a month away. And I know that from um, next week I should be like available to go out more often, and I'll have a lot more free time next week. So I think to myself, all right, what can I do now so that I can lessen the burden for next week and the week after? So when I go to Supernova, I already like pretty much done everything that I need to, sort of thing. Yet again, it's I've always been excited to like travel overseas and go to concerts and conventions and all that, but I try not to let it like I guess consume me. Only let it consume me like a few days before, so that I can like build up my excitement. Um, and you obviously get those moments where you wish you could just hop in a time machine and just go to that moment. But I'll say a month is a month. Like I'm not gonna let a month go to waste. Especially where if I have like time off, obviously I'm gonna make the most out of that month. But yeah, I'll just say, I guess the sort of best way is just to acknowledge, yes, you're excited, but you also, I guess, got to focus on what you have to do in order to reach that end position. And I'll just say take it one by one. Like, if you got to, I guess, do a piece of homework, a task, or an assignment, or even just chores, really, just any, I guess, task or assignment that is given to you by your parents, school, whatever. Just take it in, like, I guess, small chunks, like, um, you know, I guess decide how much of an assignment or task that you want to do per day and put them as, I guess, stepping stones, small little things to tick off, which will eventually lead towards the ultimate reward, sort of thing. And that's how I've been approaching it. Like theoretically, um, with the amount of work that I have currently right now, I could most probably get it done in a day. But then I realized to myself, well, if I get it done in a day, then obviously that'll be very good. But like, I like to spread things out a bit because I'm like, if I'm given time to do something, I want to do that thing so that I can keep myself preoccupied. Um, in a like anticipation. I remember when I had like a job, right? It's like having a job where you're assigned a, let's say, a 5 hour shift, right? You just do work for 5 hours and then you leave. Now, the best strategy or the wisest strategy will be trying to prolong tasks as long as possible, all right? Anyone will do that, when you're like at front counter, when you're just, given a mop or something to clean. Um, I guess your ambition will basically be to sort of drag out that task for as long as possible. So then, you end up like doing less work. That's kind of my principle where, you don't really, I guess, drag out a task, but you like do tasks every single day in small chunks to keep you preoccupied and build that momentum. Because like, I feel like if I were to just complete a large portion of the task in one day, then I'll quickly, I guess, slack off because I'll only be thinking about that reward, when I go on holidays or when I get to go somewhere or when I receive something, that ultimate reward. Um, and all my free time, like, left, all the time that I guess, uh, I guess saved while doing that task in like a very big chunk, I guess will be wasted because I'll just be thinking about that upcoming thing or whatever. At least for me, this is how it works. I do procrastinate a lot, and yeah, I feel like one way to combat it is just to really focus on a small part of a task and try to put all your effort into that small little task, but not too much. All right, just really focus on making that sentence the best it can be, then focus on the next one, or just like focus on mopping a small little area than another area. Quality, I guess, over quantity. But I feel like that can keep you, I guess, preoccupied and your mind away from that big prize, because you focus on doing the work. The big prize is just the, I guess, satisfaction of that work. Or, if your parents tell you to clean the house and they'll give you like a concert ticket, for instance. Not that that's ever happened to me, but you must have very lucky parents if they're willing to give you a concert ticket for doing chores. Um, yeah. So basically, I've been trying to, I guess, well, anticipate, but I guess trying to calm myself down over um, things coming up in the future. I'm like, what can I do now? What's something I can, I guess, preoccupy myself with? Can I take this task and really like slow it down so then it gives me something to do? So yeah, I guess that's why I like to really just spend time on tasks. And I always say that towards the end of your school semester is where your patience is, I guess, really, really tested, if you know what I mean. A lot of people, towards the end of, I guess, the school semester, or when, I guess, the holiday's about to come up, just 1 week out from holiday, you can also be, I guess, in a 9 to 5 job and you got your holiday booked for next week and you're just really anticipating. That's where I think your patience is most tested. And I would say if you're a student and you're 1 week out from holidays, 1 week away from freedom, that is, I guess, the time where patience is really tested. We're all quick to, I guess, try to, like quickly run through assignments. And obviously, yet again, I do believe in hard work. It's where you should ramp up your work, making those small little touches and all that. But I'll say you have to be, I guess, patient for the big prize. You got to like, just say, all right, I know it's very close, it's very close, but I need to, be patient. I need to take control of this. I just need to work on this little bit every single day, and then when that day comes to submit the assignment, that'll be the best feeling ever. That's my favorite part of doing an assignment, just submitting it and just forgetting about it. But yeah, I'll just say, don't underestimate I guess, the last week of school, because that is one of the most, I guess, important weeks there is in academia, or the schooling experience. I shouldn't say academia, but I should say the schooling experience. And yeah, I guess like even the teachers are a little bit worn after, I guess, all those weeks, of learning and all that. And I guess they want things to be over and done with as well. But yeah, I'll just say, you're always going to be focused. It's like, a race, right? You could complete 99% of a race, or very, very large majority of a race. You get like a very good start. But then I guess if you slow down, or if you just stop completely, well, technically you haven't reached the finish line. It just requires that little extra jump. So then, or that little extra, I guess, run, sorry. So then you can cross the finish line. But I guess if you stay idle for a long time, then you got to let other people pass you by, and then suddenly the race is up. So I like to view that with assignments. It's always good to get a strong start. Look at that reward. Look at the holiday. Look at whatever you got planned in the holidays. But it's also important to, I guess, even if it means just slowing things down a bit, but not by too much. So then you're able to just cross the finish line just in time to get all your assignments handed in early and on time. And, obviously within my life, it always seems like within my life, there's always like many things that just pop up like last minute. I think to myself, I'll have like a week off, and suddenly my mom or my parents or whatever, they tell me, oh, Josh, we need to do this now, like on this day, And I'm like, where did this come from? Just like out of nowhere, out of the blue, they just say, oh yeah, we need to do this now. So you end up spending a whole day doing that. And, like, yet again, though, it might just only be one day, but it really just throws a curveball. Even when you're doing assignments, teachers, they give you updates saying, oh, update to the assignment or whatever. So that's why I make it a rule where if I work on an assignment, I always submit it 24 hours before. And before I submit, um, I always look for it like one more time. And I always leave my assignments open to change because I know, like, things change, a new bit of info comes out, and like that can really, I guess, put a roadblock towards your ultimate end prize, if you know what I mean. Like, you're just looking forward to a holiday, and suddenly, um, you know, uh, a condition within the assignment has changed. It rarely happens, but when it does happen, it's a little bit annoying. Where a new bit of info comes out, you got to change some bits, and then those small bits become big portions, if you know what I mean. I guess it happens if you're like doing an assignment on a concurrent topic, like a news sort of thing, or even if you're just doing like research and a new finding has come out, and you're like, or you just spot like another problem within your essay or piece of work that you've done, and you gotta like go back and fix up those things before you can move forward. But and same thing I guess happens within my life, except my life just seems to be like, my availabilities, I guess. But that's why I always say, if you want to reach that end prize, get an early start on it, and you don't necessarily have to do a large portion of work every single day. The more you do, the better. But like, focus on the quality aspect, and as long as I guess you reach that finish line before the due date, you're, I guess, completely fine. But yeah. So like I said, it's I guess it's very tempting to see that big prize for me. All the things that's gonna happen to me in June that I got lined up. It's very tempting, right? But then I realized that obviously June's not too far away, but I need to reevaluate my focus. I'm like, all right, can I just focus for 1 hour on an assignment? So then I focus for an hour. I'm like, hey, I got like a lot of stuff done. All right, let me focus for another hour. And then bit by bit, you're like, all right, this is all come together just on that final stretch. Maybe you take like a little break before the final stretch, then you just go full force, and then you get the prize. So yeah, I feel like it is tempting, but that's where your patience really, really comes in, if you know what I mean. And I guess to cap this video off about, I guess, waiting. What was this video title? I said at the beginning it was like waiting for a specific thing, or just waiting for, I guess, the big prize, that big event. Is yeah, basically my, I guess, like, little wise quote for today will just basically be patience. Um, Good things come to those who wait. That is not my quote, but it's a very old, famous saying. Excuse me, sorry. It's a very old, famous saying. Good things come to those who wait, and I consider myself to be a fairly patient person. I do like walking to a lot of places, taking, I guess, sometimes a slow route. But yeah, even in life, we don't know how long we have to be patient for in order to like receive a certain thing, or to see a certain thing eventuate. Um, I don't know what age I'll be able to buy a house, but I eventually got to be patient because I got to wait decades before I can even get a deposit. Thanks, Sydney. But I guess like you know, I guess it would be patience as key. Um, I don't know when a lot of things are going to happen in my life. My future, I guess, has a lot of things waiting for me to happen, but I have to learn patience. I have to realize that every day is a very important brick within the household. It's not brick. No, sorry, I said it wrong. Every single day is like a brick. When you're building a house, one brick by itself isn't, I guess, significant, but a bunch of bricks together forms a structure, which is very significant. So you're gonna eventually learn patience to lay each individual brick one by one, and the ultimate prize is essentially the finished product. Um, and I guess it's important, like, not to rush with certain things. Um, work diligently, but certainly don't rush to the point where you're, excuse me, so when you're like constantly tripping over, or you're constantly making errors within your writing. Don't do that. Just take your time. If you have to go over time by a slight bit, doesn't really matter. I mean, um, let's say if you have to apply for an extension for an assignment just because you want to make that extra bit um, better, then by all means, if you believe you'll strengthen your work, then do it. But try and, I guess, leave that as a last resort. You know, try and complete your assignments at least maybe like 24 or 48 hours before the due date. I always like to complete it maybe like 48 hours and then submit it 24 hours before the due date. That's always a good rule of thumb. Submit your assignments 24 hours before the due date. So that's basically 2 wise splits, you know? So yeah, I guess um, for me now, it'll just be basically putting Supernova and all those fun things in the coming months at the back of my head, and just focusing what I can do now, and start doing some fun things now, like playing games and listening to music and watching movies, just so that I can I guess keep myself preoccupied and also doing my work. But anyway, I guess I'll catch you all later and see you all next time. Bye. See you. Take care.